The International Court of Justice ruled that Bolivia and Chile have equal rights over the use of the waters of the Silala River. The president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, warned that his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, is trying to involve NATO troops in the conflict. Israeli forces killed 3 more Palestinian citizens in Jenin, northern Palestine. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. The International Court of Justice delivered its judgment on the dispute between Bolivia and Chile, ruling that the use of the waters of the Silala is international. The president of the court, Judge John E. Donoghue, read the sentence, indicating that the International Court had no doubts about the international status of the waters of the Silala. The judge also noted the court established that both nations have the same right to an equitable and reasonable use of this water resource. The dispute goes back to 1996, when Bolivian authorities accused Chile of artificially deviating the waters, going back and forth with the legal feud until Thursday's ruling. Bolivian President Luis Arce Catacora has revealed that the country's sale of potassium chloride and lithium carbonate as of November this year amounted to close to $61 million, which is more than twice the revenues of 2021. The president made the announcement through his Twitter account, saying Bolivia tries to turn the evaporate sector into another pillar of the country's economy. Bolivia has started up industrial-scale potassium chloride plants and has also launched pilot plants for lithium carbonate and batteries to be sold both domestically and abroad. Bolivia's hydrocarbons ministry says the country exports potassium chloride to Brazil, Chile, and Peru, and that it sells lithium carbonate to Russia and China. In Colombia, President Gustavo Petro has apologized to victims of massacres committed by paramilitaries in La Granja in 1996 and El Aro in 1997 in the department of Antioquia. He described the incidents as genocides in which the government took part either by action or by omission. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the Museum of Memory, Petro, on behalf of the Colombian government, asked victims' relatives for forgiveness. He said the victims were humble, hard-working people who were killed for no reason. He recalled that in 2006, the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, the Colombian state responsible for those killings, and required Colombian authorities to investigate the facts to find and prosecute those responsible. Petro regretted that public recognition of what happened took more than 16 years, and he promised to do everything he can so the victims of violence get compensation.
I must apologize to all the victims, relatives, and the victims who are not with us because they were murdered by the state. A murder state Constitution politics of 1991.
Ecuador's government declared on Thursday a 3-month health emergency because of the outbreaks of bird flu after a wave of cases led to tens of millions of poultry being slaughtered in Europe and the United States. The bird flu outbreak was first detected over the weekend at a poultry farm in the province of Cotopaxi, south of the country's capital, Quito, sparking quarantine efforts across potentially infected areas. The Agriculture Ministry said some 180,000 birds in the area were said to be slaughtered to prevent the spread of the virus. The government stated that the bird flu does not pose a risk to people's health and has guaranteed the safety of consuming eggs and chicken meat. And according to the Peruvian National Forestry and Wildlife Service, the highly contagious H5N1 avian flu has killed thousands of pelicans, blue-footed boobies, and other seabirds in the country. The current bird flu outbreak began in Canada and spread to the United States, which has seen a record of 50 million avian deaths, according to the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Peru first issued a health alert last Thursday after confirming 3 cases of H5B1 in pelicans, and since then, thousands have been found dead in coastal areas. On Thursday, the Peruvian Congress will decide on whether to admit a third motion vacancy against President Pedro Castillo for debate. This vacancy motion is promoted by opposition figures and deputies. Congress President Jose Williams publicly announced the new vacancy motion and said the president had already been notified. The plenary speakers board decided that, in case that the debate is approved, President Castillo will be summoned to defend himself on December the 12th. According to Parliament regulations, the motion requires at least 40% of the votes in the Congress to be passed. Peruvian health workers mobilized on Thursday to demand better funding for the sector. Specialists, technicians, and health workers requested the government to double or triple the financing to guarantee medicines, surgeries, and hospital attention in the country. The leader of Paraguay's National Union of Physicians, Rosana Gonzalez, pointed out that the budget is not enough to cover the rest of the year, including the amount corresponding to labor rights for salary increase. She also acknowledged that recent mobilizations were held around Congress headquarters and requested support from all officials and employees from health institutions. Let's take a short break, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The follow-up and verification commission of the agreements reached in Mexico between the Venezuelan government and the sector of the opposition meets on Thursday to set a date for the approved funds to be released. This was confirmed by Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros at a press conference with international media. Maduro said he expects that at the beginning and at the meeting it will be determined when the $3 billion being withheld will be released. Maduro said that, as established in the agreement, that money will be used to finance projects on electricity, education, water, health, and mitigation of damages caused by heavy rains this year in Las Tejerias and El Castaño regions. Cuba's State Council has called for general elections for deputies to the National Assembly of People's Power for the next 5-year term. Following provisions on the Constitution and Electoral Law numbers 127 of July 13th and 2019, the State Council has agreed to convene these elections for next March 26, 2023. They say that once the elections are over, the National Electoral Council will announce the results. Will be the second elections by the new electoral law under 2019 Constitution. The first one was held this past Sunday, October 27th, for municipal assembly delegates. In Haiti, gang members have killed at least 12 people and burned down houses in a town near the capital, Port-au-Prince. According to the mayor of the town of Cabaret, Joseph Jensen, Guillaume, police and residents forced gangsters out of the town several days ago, but they returned and attacked. Much of the Caribbean nation is controlled by powerful armed groups that have been targeting Cabaret and other towns for months. After President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated in July 2021, political instability increased, leading to a spiraling economic crisis. The volatility led to gangs taking more control and becoming more powerful, while thousands of people have fled the country. Now we move on to other topics. The president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, warned that his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, is trying to involve NATO troops in the conflict. The Belarusian president pointed out that Ukraine is trying to drag NATO forces into the war under any pretext, while denouncing an increase in actions aimed at provoking the Belarusian forces near the border. Lukashenko assured that his country is trying to contain potential adversaries from using force against the country. However, he considered it necessary to constantly monitor the signals indicating that some kind of aggression against the nation is being prepared. For its part, the Belarusian Defense Ministry registered an increase in the number of troops from the bloc on its borders, a situation that Lukashenko considered strains the situation in the area and in the region as a whole. The United States Army awarded Raytheon Technologies a $1.2 billion contract to deliver 6 more national advanced surface-to-air missile systems, plus equipment and support services to Ukraine. The contract brings the U.S. government's total order for NASAMS batteries to aid to help the Ukrainian military counter missile threats and drone attacks. Raytheon Missiles and Defense Unit has delivered to Washington the first 2 NASAM batteries as part of the 3rd Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative package. According to a Department of Defense notice, the contract work will take place in Tewksbury, Massachusetts through November 28, 2025. The president of the National Assembly of People's Power, Cuba's parliament, Esteban Lasso Hernandez, met on Thursday with Russian parliament authorities while paying an official visit to the Russian Federation. The Cuban government official met with the chairwoman of the Federation Council, Valentina Matvienko, and addressed the plenary session. Lasso also met with the chairman of the State Duma, Vyacheslav Volodin, and discussed the excellent status of bilateral relations between the governments and parliaments of Cuba and Russia. Both parties signed the Act of Constitution of the Commission for Cooperation between the State Duma of the Russian Federation and the National Assembly of the People's Power of the Republic of Cuba, and agreed to hold their first session in February 2023 in Havana. In Spain, there is growing concern over new envelopes with explosives which have been mailed to 5 state institutions. Forensics found 5 brown envelopes with similar characteristics mailed from within the country, but authorities dismissed raising the anti-terrorist alert level. According to the Interior Ministry, Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez received an envelope with pyrotechnic material on November 24th, but his security team managed to disarm it. Also, a Spanish arms manufacturer, the Ukrainian embassy in Madrid, and an airbase in the Spanish capital, and most recently, the country's defense ministry, all received suspicious packages as well. All the bomb letters were intercepted, except the one bound for the Ukrainian embassy, an incident already under investigation. And December the 1st marks World AIDS Day, as every year since 1988, with its 2022 edition dedicated to equality for people living with the virus, as minorities, girls and women and other neglected communities need more access to healthcare services. This is a day to celebrate life, to fight prejudices and raise awareness on these conditions and its social repercussions. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. On Thursday, Israeli forces killed 3 more Palestinian citizens in Jenin, northern Palestine. The new attack in the refugee settlement took the lives of Naim Jamal al-Zubaidi, 27 years old, and Muhammad Ayman al-Zadi, 26 years old. Another young Palestinian, Muhammad Tawif, also 26 years old, died in hospital from wounds received in Jubad. The onslaught of the occupying troops is steadily escalating. Last Tuesday, they've killed 5 young men, and since the beginning of the year, according to the East Monitor, 205 Palestinians have been executed. Hossein al-Sheikh, secretary of the Executive Committee of the Liberation of Palestine organization, has described some of these killings as heinous crimes. The United Nations General Assembly renewed the adoption of a resolution calling on the Israeli occupation forces to fully withdraw from the occupied Syrian Golan. The text calls Israeli forces to retrieve to the territorial line established on June 4, 1967, in implementation of the relevant Security Council resolutions. 92 countries voted in favor of the resolution entitled the Syrian Golan, and 8 countries did so against the draft, while 65 countries abstained. The resolution stipulated that the decision on Israel on December 14, 1981, to impose its law and jurisdiction on the occupied Golan in Syria is null and void and has no legitimacy at all, as confirmed by the Security Council in its resolution 497 of 1981. Now we move on to other topics. In China, top authorities are holding a consultation with local experts to improve COVID-19 measures. Chinese First Deputy Minister Sun Xunlan said it is important to constantly optimize the country's response to COVID-19. Sun made the remarks at the National Health Commission, where she listened to the opinions and suggestions given by experts to improve measures to contain the epidemic. She said that over the past 3 years, the Central Committee of China's Communist Party and the State Council have put the health and safety of the people first and have effectively addressed the uncertainties caused by COVID-19. And the president of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, greeted the victory of the Argentine football team against Poland at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. In his Instagram account, shortly after the 2-0 victory over Poland, the head of state posted a message of encouragement for La Scaloneta. He thanked the team and the coaching staff for their efforts, talent, and generosity by bringing another great joy to the Argentine people with the new victory. The South American latest win gave them the ticket to the round of 16. You can follow the details of the matches through our multi-platform. And just as the hearts of millions of fans live the emotions of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, TeleSUR joins this sporting event with From the Field, a show that brings news, analysis, reviews, and more to our audience. Don't miss it. Our show airs 1 p.m. local time in Caracas and 12 p.m. New York. Remember, From the Field, only on TeleSUR. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.